Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents The Past with me, your host, Valerie, and brought to you by David Thomas. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. David and I started this podcast earlier this year. I love interviewing funny people, and he loves writing about them. We'll be bringing you podcasts featuring the best in Austin comedy in all its shapes and formats. I'll be doing these in two parts, the past and the current. Consider these bite-sized ways for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. And now the past with our guest, Lashonda Lester.
Hi.
Hello.
This sounds so NPR-ish.
Yes, I just need to figure out a way to get a canned NPR type of audio in the background.
Yeah, you need some of that saxophone music or something they be playing.
Well, I'm very excited to have you here. I like to start with an icebreaker. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Pick one word to describe your past.
Pick one word to describe my past. I would say unique. Yeah, unique.
That's a good one. You're a comic that makes where you're from a pretty big part of your comedy.
Yeah.
And so let's just dig in. Where are you from?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan, the 313, the Dirty Glove, the Murder Mitten, all those wonderful euphemisms.
I've never heard of the Murder Mitten. Oh my gosh.
I know mittens aren't really murderous, but, you know, Detroit makes it kind of murderous.
Yeah. Did you watch comedy when you were growing up? What kind of things were you into when you were growing up?
I didn't watch comedy, but I did have like my grandparents and my uncles had like a real big record collection of like comedy. So they had like a lot of the old like Chitlin Circuit comics like Red Fox, Slappy White, LaWanda Page, who was Aunt Esther, Dirty Mouth. Oh my gosh, she has such a dirty mouth. And then my uncles were really into George Carlin, of course, Richard Pryor. So I would sneak and listen to them. You know, I would go up in because we had a big room that had like books and music in it. So I would just go and just spend hours listening to those records just over and over again, memorizing the bits and then trying to do them in school and bombing horribly. So you just had to be there.
That's interesting. So you have a memory of you going to school with these memorized bits, and
yeah, like I was always the class clown, but I wasn't ever trying to be the class clown. Like I would just say stuff, and just people would just crack up, and you know I was always getting in trouble, and I was like, I ain't even do nothing, damn. Well, yeah, that's what I remember.
That's awesome. You've gotten to Austin fairly recently?
It's been 12 years, actually.
Oh, it has?
Yeah, I moved here March 1st, 2004.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't start comedy until like 5 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of the people that I've talked to, especially somebody that has these memories of doing or performing comedy as a young person, that go into it right away. So that wasn't your path. You didn't.
No, I didn't choose being a comedian. It's weird. It's like being a comedian kind of chose me. So I used to act when I was younger. Okay. So I used to do plays. I used to do voiceovers, commercials, just all kinds of stuff. And then I had kind of a bad experience with this one producer who like ripped us all off. Like we had all these pie in the sky dreams. He sold us. And it was just very disappointing. And so I kind of backed off a little bit in my teen years. And, I was just like, I pushed all performing arts out. I was like, I'm not even interested in this. And so it kind of happened by accident.
So I'm piecing together something, and I think I want you to tell this story because I was Googling you.
Okay.
And you opened for Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I did.
What is that about?
That was, oh man.
Is that part of your performing days, or is that?
No, this is from being a comedian.
Really?
Yeah. They came
awesome.
for ACL Live, and they needed an opening act, and yeah, somebody said me, and then I sent them a video of me doing like some kind of cleanish material, and they were like, done.
Nice.
So I got to eat dinner with the band and like at the W Hotel before the show. So I ate dinner with them. I met not Maurice White, Vernon, the one with the long hair who always take his shirt off all the time. Oh. Yeah, I can't think of his last name, but he's Maurice White's brother. And he's like took over the band, and so he came and introduced himself, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm Maurice. I'm Vernon White." I'm like, "Okay, I know who you are." He's like, "Well, good, because sometimes people confuse me for Nick Ashford, because I guess they looked alike at the time, just tall, dark dudes with long hair." Vernon White, that's his name, Vernon White.
Okay, yeah. See, sometimes that you have to do that, right? You have to just move on from your conversation, and then you'll remember the one little thing that was driving you crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I don't know why I had this notion that this was something from your Detroit days.
No, this was really down here.
Huh. Did you have an aha moment then? So you're living your life. Comedy's not on your radar, and then you're like, oh, I want to do this.
So what ended up happening, when I first moved to Austin, I moved here to do a magazine.
Okay.
And I was working in politics. Like, I was helping people that were running for office. I was doing these CDs, and I would put like their video and all their campaign material on these mini little CD-ROMs, and then they would give them to the people that they were constituents that they were trying to, reach. And so anyway, I used to call into this one political show, the Mike Malloy Show. Shout out to Mike Malloy, Kathy. Mike Malloy is like the liberal Rush Limbaugh. So he's just an angry guy about everything, every injustice in America. And I was like a regular caller, and I would just crack him up all the time. Like every week I would call in. Like they got to know me so much that I didn't even have to wait on the phone that long.
Nice.
And they'd be like, "Oh, it's Lashonda from Austin. How were you this week?" And so I would call, and then I started getting fan mail from Malloy's fans. Like they would email him, and he would forward me the email, and it was like, And people would be like, "Are you a comedian?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Well, you should definitely look into that." And I was like, So at the time, I was kind of frustrated with this magazine thing. And I was like, well, maybe I'll go and try comedy for a bit. I took a free comedy class. And after that, like 6 months later, I won my first comedy competition. And and then it was on after that.
That's really cool. Do you remember your first performance in front of a crowd, or in front of whatever crowd? Audience?
I remember my first one. I was probably like 4, and I had to say Easter speech at church, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, she's so good, she's so good." And then next thing you know, they would have me like reading the church announcements, and then they would have me doing like plays and stuff. And I got the bug real early.
So you took the class, and then did you do an open mic?
I did an open mic a couple days later. I wrote like 3 minutes, worked real hard on them 3 minutes, and they got laughs, which was better than the first time I tried comedy, I was in Detroit. I was about 18 or 19, and I got real drunk, and I insulted the audience for 4 minutes, and they booed me.
Oh.
They weren't supposed to boo me. They were supposed to just shake their keys in disappointment. But they was booing and shaking keys, and I was just like, "Oh hell no, this is not for me." I didn't know how to write a set. I didn't know anything about being a comic. I just thought, well, I saw these comics. They just insulted the audience and they killed. Why not me?
So do you know now that you have some experience what was the difference? Because I would take insults from you.
Well, you have to have the audience on your side.
Okay.
And I think a lot of these younger, newer comics don't understand that. They're like, well, I want to say what I want to say. Yeah, there's a delicate balance between that. Because if you piss off the audience right away, it's going to be a long, hot set. You're going to be having sweat pouring down. You're just going to be like, what else do I want to talk about? And you can have really killer material, but if you just start off, just insulting them, that's not going to go well. So I know now what I did wrong.
Hindsight 2020.
Right.
since you've had a long career with comedy, but more recent career with stand-up, what's a comfortable style for you as far as the type of comedy that you do?
I like telling stories. I got some crazy ass stories.
You have some crazy ass stories.
I love taking my time and being able to tell a story. Some people, when they tell stories, they like wait for that big punch at the end, but you can't do that. You have to make it funny, funny. And then at the end, it's just like, oh, wow, that was really funny. So I like being able to build up that tension and then finally, hit them at the end. I'm not really a one-liner comic. I see my friends that can just crank out one-liners, and I'm like, I hate y'all. I get so jealous of those guys, man. I love them. Cody Hustack, who won Funniest Person. I hate that dude. Yeah. He's just the best one-liner. Like him and Ramin, like those guys, they're so great. Yeah. But that's not my style. I'll let them do that.
Yeah. Has Austin been your home base for a while? Okay, so the reason I'm asking this question is because I know you've done filming for very big comedy shows, networks. Yeah. So do you always stay in Austin?
Yeah, this is home.
Okay.
And if somebody wants to pay me to come out and to LA or New York and do a show, I have no problem, But I don't want to live there, no. Yeah. Hell no.
And I'm sure the listener is really confused about why I just asked that question after you mentioned Cody and Ramin. And if you don't know, these are people that grew up, they grew up as comics in Austin, but they're now out in LA. And so I was just wondering, does that have any draw for you? This is home.
This is home. Like, I got here. It took me a really long time to get to Austin. Yeah. And so I have no other places, like maybe around Austin. Yeah. But I don't think I would ever leave Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, if people are willing to pay you to go to the other places, and this is a comfortable place.
Yeah, and Austin is getting that national recognition now where you can actually do television and still live in Austin. Right. Because we've really started making a name for ourselves. So, I'm very why would I leave that? Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm one of the people to help to, lay that groundwork. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been talking about your stand-up, but I've alluded to you've been on Comedy Central shows, but you've also done a lot of writing.
No, not Comedy Central. I did Last Comic Standing.
Well, yes, you did do that, but I've seen you on a Comedy Central show.
Really?
Or either you have a really good twin out there. Because I'm like, that's Lashonda.
You might have. I don't own a TV. Shit, I could have been on TV.
Trust me, Lashonda, you were on Drunk History. You were on... I really... what was the show that I was watching for a while? I'm terrible because I don't watch that much TV. Okay. But you were a cop.
I remember playing a cop, I think. I don't remember, man.
Somebody tell us. If somebody's listening, fact check. Because my research was terrible. And I tried to Google, and I'm like, okay, surely it'll come up. And it's not on your IMDb. So I'm like, I know I saw her. She was a cop. It's driving me crazy. So
I've done so many of these little short sketch things. So I have no idea. I could have been on there. I know I did the Project Greenlight thing too.
Yeah. That's an HBO thing. What was that?
Ashley Barnhill and Kirk Johnson. They were a couple of writers. Like Ashley's a stand-up comic. Okay. That used to be here, and she's in LA now too. Okay. And they entered Project Greenlight and got this script from the Farrelly brothers, and we had like 48 hours to shoot it exactly verbatim. And so the character that I played, I was actually supposed to be a dude. And then they were like, what you need? This role needs Lashonda Lester.
Oh my gosh.
So that was pretty cool. I was like, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon saw me, so.
Nice.
Right.
Those of you listening don't know the magic that just happened.
Love those dudes.
Well, what I would like to do actually is I want to leave the Last Comic Standing as a teaser for the stuff, because that was that last year or 2 years ago?
Year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I remember I was watching along with everybody else in Austin, and I did see the one shot that they put on there.
Yeah.
And I know that was, and then I've heard somebody else's story, Danny's story.
Okay.
He talked about it on the Dudley and Bob with Matt sideshow.
Okay.
He went full on with what happened with his experience. So I want to leave that as a tease for the next episode, and you can tell us your experience with it. So you've done festivals, and what I was alluding to before with the writing is you do this thing called Weird True Hollywood Tales.
Yes.
And is that a web series, or is that more of a live
It's a
show?
live show. Yeah. We tried to think about doing it as a web series, but it doesn't work, I don't think. I think you have to be there for it. It's a special kind of electricity that happens during that show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to leave all that for teases for the next episode. We'll dig in so you can really promote stuff. Back to the background of Lashonda. Do you have any fears?
Do I have any fears? No. I mean, right now I'm dealing with a lot of health problems, and so it's kind of like, I ain't got nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't kid, whatever it is, it's just like, can't be any worse than what I'm dealing with. Mm-hmm. So at that point, no, I have no fears.
Well, and just to stroke your ego a little bit, even if you didn't have those things, you don't strike me as a person that's scared of anything.
Not coming from Detroit.
Yeah, right? The Murder Mitten.
The Murder Mitten, you better be about your business.
Yeah.
That's why I love being from Detroit. I'm going to tell you, if you meet anybody that's actually from Detroit, like, they carry a pride. Like, how Puerto Ricans, love to tell you they're Puerto Rican and Boricua and all that. Yeah, it's Detroit people like that. They will holler 313 all day. Well,
that town has been through so much that you kind of like, well, if I survive that town, I'm a pretty big badass.
Yeah, seriously, if you come away with all your mind intact and a clean record, you ahead of the game.
I like how you added and a clean record. That's for a real NPR show to dig into. Has there been any one thing that told you that made you think, yeah, for sure, this is the comedy world I need to be in?
It wasn't until I got the kidney failure and I couldn't do comedy for like 4 or 5 months because I was recovering from all that stuff that I really realized that this is what I want to do. Because all my friends got together and like they raised money for me and they would come see me and they were just so, it was like, these are my people.
Yeah.
I have no choice now. We've been doing this together so long. It's in my blood. And I was just like, God, please, I just want to get back out here. And that was hard. And that was what really made me appreciate being a comedian. Mm-hmm. And then just like whatever apprehensions I had just fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot, that it's not just being a comic, it's the community that exists, especially in this town.
It's a total package. People think because you're on stage by yourself, you can be a lone wolf, but it's not like that.
Right.
You need to absolutely have the respect of your peers. And if you don't have the respect of your peers, it's going to make it real hard for you to even get a foot in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. That is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents The Past with our lovely guest, Lashonda Lester.
That was fast.
Why don't you tell us where we can find you on social media or anywhere else?
Social media. I have a Twitter, but I very rarely go to Twitter. I don't like Twitter.
I know. Yeah, I don't see you much on there.
It'll be like once every 4 weeks, it'll be like, oh, I got a Twitter account. Hey. No, I'm most active on Facebook.
Okay.
So you can find me, Shondi.Lester. And then, yeah. Oh, and I'm on YouTube. But, y'all don't need to find me on there.
Oh.
Just come see me on Facebook.
Very good. Listen to part 2 for more information about what Lashonda is up to today. You've been listening to Comedy Wham Presents The Past, hosted by me, Valerie, and brought to you by David Thomas. Be sure to visit comedywham.com and give us a follow on Twitter @ComedyWham. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny.